We're joined now by Joseph Grinkorn of the Morris Group in New York. Thank you very much for being with us.
And thank you for having me.
Look, Joseph, months ago, financial markets were all but pricing in a rate hike in June, but a lot changed since then, and last week, the Federal Reserve decided to leave interest rates unchanged. In your view, what led them to make that decision?
Well, I think it's a few things. First of all, Janet Yellen has been very precise in saying that she's going to be very patient and she's going to be very, very dependent on the data. I think in the meantime, throughout the course of the early part of the year, there have been many Fed members that have come out and called for multiple rate hikes throughout the year. Now, I've been here on the show saying I don't see any new rate hikes in 2016. I think also coupled with the fact of a very, very bad start to the markets in January and February, and some very, very weak reports coming out in recent months, Janet Yellen has chosen to be, again, data dependent and very, very patient in keeping interest rates very low.
Well, let's take a look now, a closer look at the health of the U.S. economy. Bank of America's global research head called the U.S. a Peter Pan economy. Tell us, is the U.S. economy really not ready to grow up? What's keeping it from handling higher interest rates?
Well, no, I mean, I'm going to have to disagree with Michael on that. Listen, I think Janet Yellen really has her plate really full. She's not only dealing with the U.S. market, but she's dealing with all the volatility in the global market. So of course we have the very, very new vote coming up on Brexit in the coming days. We've had slowingness out of China, in the past months. We've had a very, very weak jobs report coming out as of recently. So she's dealing with all of these moving parts. And again, she does not want to hike rates prematurely. I think once she feels that all the markets, U.S. and globally, are stable, doing okay, I think she's going to feel comfortable about raising heights very, very slowly, hiking rates, and gradually. The last thing Janet Yellen wants to do is really hike rates and then have to go backwards and have to lower them afterward.
Well, Joseph, earlier this month we saw low jobs growth data for May. Only 38,000 jobs were added. Is that a one-off, or do you expect that this is the beginning of a real trend?
Well, yeah, it was a very, very weak May jobs report. Plus, they revised down lower in the previous months before that as well. I think when you get to a certain point, and we're under 5% now in unemployment, I think it gets more and more harder to keep beating the numbers. So again, this is another warning sign for Janet Yellen. Again, data dependent, be patient, hold as is and do not hike rates. So I can see the jobs report coming out moderately positively in the coming months, but nothing really, really drastic or very, very positive, I see.
Lastly, a big day now for Britain, Europe, and the markets. We potentially have a Brexit in the cards. The upcoming British referendum on EU membership putting a lot of investors in haywire in the recent weeks. What impact would Britain leaving the EU have on the global financial markets? Would this really be as worrisome as some have suggested?
Listen, I think it'll be terrible, both for Britain and for the EU. It's opening up a Pandora's box for the EU. It could cause contagion. You can see other countries possibly trying to leave. I've said in the past as well, I look at the UK and Britain as an anchor, such as Germany. And if they leave, the EU drastically gets weaker. They are stronger altogether, and I think, again, with the volatility in the global markets, I don't think anyone benefits from it, and I think it hurts the markets overall.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate your insight. Joseph Grinkorn from New York.
Thank you.